Welcome to German history with a German accent. My name is still Wolf, WOLF, just like the animal, and in this video I'm speaking about Paul von Hindenburg. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. Paul Ludwig Hans Anton von Beneckendorf und von Hindenburg was born on October 2nd in the year 1847 in Posen as son of the Prussian officer Hans Robert Ludwig von Beneckendorf und von Hindenburg and his wife Luise Schwickert. Paul von Hindenburg was in the Cadet Corps in Wahlstatt as well as the main Cadet Corps in Berlin. In April 1866, he was promoted to the rank of second lieutenant and served in the 3rd Garde-Regiment zu Fuß, with whom he had served in the Battle of Königgrätz in the Austro-Prussian War. He also served in the Franco-Prussian War, the year 1870-1871. He represented his regiment in the Castle of Versailles when the German Empire was proclaimed. From 1873 up until 1876, Paul von Hindenburg had attended the War Academy in Berlin that he had left with the qualification for General Staff service. The following year, he was promoted to the rank of captain and transferred into the Greater General Staff. In the year 1881, he was promoted to the rank of major, serving in the 1st Division in Königsberg, East Prussia. Paul von Hindenburg was one of the officers who stood death watch for the first German Emperor, Kaiser Wilhelm I. In the year 1891, he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant colonel, leading the 2nd Department in the Ministry of War. 3 years later, von Hindenburg was promoted to the rank of colonel, and in August 1896, he became the Chief of Staff of the 8th Army Corps and was promoted to the rank of Major General the following year. As a Lieutenant General, von Hindenburg took command of the 28th Division in Karlsruhe in the year 1900. In June in the year 1905, Paul von Hindenburg was promoted to the rank of General of the Infantry before he was sent into retirement in March 1911. When the First World War broke out, Paul von Hindenburg was recalled in August 1914 as commander of the 8th Army in the Eastern Theater. The successful Battle of Tannenberg brought him the promotion to the rank of Colonel General, as well as the Pour le Mérite Award. On November 1, 1914, he became Commander-in-Chief East, and by the end of the month, he was promoted again to the rank of Field Marshal. In the year 1915, Paul von Hindenburg was awarded the Oak Leaves to the Pour le Mérite, and in August 1916, he took over the Supreme Army Command, in German Oberste Heeresleitung, with Erich Ludendorff as his Chief of Staff. Both of them became so powerful during the war that some historians consider it to be a military dictatorship, which certainly is not entirely true, since they never assumed political control over the German Empire. And Paul von Hindenburg was also awarded the Grand Cross of the Iron Cross in December of 1916, as well as the for him created Hindenburg Star in the year 1918. When the last German offense had failed in 1918, he recommended the German Emperor Wilhelm II to leave the country. After the war had ended, Paul von Hindenburg retired in the year 1919, and he was one of the officers that spread the stab in the back myth, saying that the German army was never defeated on the battlefield, but stabbed in the back from the home front, especially by social democratic forces. Although it's true that the German army was technically never defeated on a battlefield, the Supreme Army Command had pushed for peace in early November 1918, since they were aware that the front lines could collapse any time. The next 6 years, Paul von Hindenburg spent in the city of Hanover, where he became an honor citizen in the year 1915, and he lived in a mansion that was provided for him by the city where he could live for life. In the year 1925, Paul von Hindenburg was approached by right-wing parties to candidate for the position of Reichspräsident in the Weimar Republic. Until then, the Reichspräsident was a man named Friedrich Ebert, who was with the Social Democratic Party, which at this point was one of the three parties that carried the Weimar Republic and the young German democracy. In 1925, Paul von Hindenburg was elected as Reichspräsident, which a lot of people interpret as a sign that the German people who voted directly for the Reichspräsident still felt a huge bond towards the old monarchy. Von Hindenburg, despite being a loyal monarchist, defended the Weimar Constitution for the next 4 years and didn't abuse his power. With the beginning of the world economy crisis in 1929, von Hindenburg used emergency decrees in the Constitution that allowed the Reichspräsident to dissolve the government and until a new one is elected to make laws without the support of the parliament. Those were the Articles 48 and 25. In the year 1930, Paul von Hindenburg had dissolved the last democratic majority-led government. Afterwards, voters tended to more radical parties, like the Communist Party and the National Socialist Party. Von Hindenburg's loyalty to the Weimar Republic prior to the emergency decrees and the signing of the Young Plan that obligated Germany to long reparation payments made him less and less popular with the right-wing parties that helped him to take office in the first place. In the year 1932, when his term had ended, he had lost the support of the right-wing parties who now tried to get another candidate elected. His name is Adolf Hitler. And Paul von Hindenburg really didn't like Adolf Hitler. Therefore, he ran again for the office of Reichspräsident, this time supported by democratic parties, and he was ultimately re-elected for another 7 years. In the following time, von Hindenburg named Franz von Papen and afterwards Kurt von Schleicher as chancellors of the Republic, that both didn't have a majority in votes by the people and didn't stay in office very long. By this time, the National Socialist Party was by far the strongest party in the Weimar Republic. Only on January 30th, 1933, Paul von Hindenburg named Adolf Hitler as Reichschancellor. With help of the emergency decrees, the government was dissolved, and new laws were made, which ultimately and quickly took out the German democracy and helped Adolf Hitler to establish his dictatorship over Germany. Paul von Hindenburg died on August 2nd in the year 1934 on Gut Neudeck in East Prussia.